And the people that dealt with it directly are not at all happy with 3M. So we'll see whether or not we do. I heard what he had to say today. I don't know the gentleman, but we're not happy with 3M. Go ahead.
And where is Dr. Fauci?
I don't know, but every time you ask that question, whenever he's not here, you look, you say, where is he? And you'll say, is there a problem? No problem whatsoever. Every time he's not here, sometimes I'll ask him to come because that's the first question that you and a couple of others from the fake news establishment ask is, where's Dr. Fauci? We're doing great together.
Different subject, if I may ask.
We're covering a different subject today. Go ahead.
Different subject, if I may,
Go ahead, Jim.
Mr. President, you have said nobody could have seen this pandemic coming. But in fact, Secretary Azar at a biodefense summit in April 2019 said, of course, the thing that people ask, what keeps you most up at night in the biodefense world? Pandemic flu, of course. I think everyone in this room probably shares that concern. Your own Health and Human Services Secretary was aware that this had the potential of being a very big problem around the world, a pandemic of this nature. Who dropped the ball?
Well, I always knew that pandemics are one of the worst things could happen. There's been nothing like this since probably 1917. That was the big one in Europe. It started actually here and went to Europe, probably. I've heard about, excuse me, wait a minute, let me finish. I've heard about this for a long time, pandemics. You don't want pandemics. And I don't think he was talking about a specific pandemic. He was talking about the threat of a pandemic could happen, and it could happen. Most people thought it wouldn't, and most people didn't understand the severity of it. This is very severe. What's happened is very severe. But I'd let you answer that. I assume that he was talking about the concept of a pandemic.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, absolutely. For 15 years now, this country has had a massive effort at the federal, state, and local level of preparedness for pandemic. Now, that largely has been, as I said in those remarks, about pandemic flu preparedness. We knew about SARS, we knew about MERS, which were earlier modifications or variants of the coronavirus. None of those achieved anything like what we're seeing today. But that's why for successive presidencies, including the leadership of President Trump, there has been a great focus on pandemic preparedness. In fact, it was just in November, I believe, that the president signed the Pandemic Flu Preparedness Executive Order that we have also updated the Pandemic Crisis Action Plan, which has been the playbook from which we've been working, the Pandemic Flu Plan, the action plan from which we have been working that coordinates the whole of government, whole of economy approach here. So we've all been very focused on pandemic preparedness. That's what we do. But this particular strain of pandemic, who would have known this particular strain?
But Secretary Azar, if you were preparing for a pandemic, if this government were preparing for a pandemic, why is it we don't have enough masks? Why is it we don't have enough medical equipment in this country?
Previous administrations gave us very little ammunition for the military and very little shelf space. Let me just tell you, you know it. You know the answer. The previous administration, the shelves were empty. The shelves were empty. So what you should do is speak to the people from the previous administration, Jim, and ask them that question. Because the shelves were empty. And you know what else? The military shelves were also empty. We had no ammunition, literally. And that was said by one of your favorite generals. We have no ammunition. Guess what? We had very little medical supply also. All right. Go ahead. We'll get it back. We'll get you back. We'll get you back, please.
What about that question?
Jim, I said we'll get you back. Please, go ahead.
So I wanted to ask